Are we doing it?
We are doing it.
This is how every episode starts. Are we doing it? Is it recording? It is by fact checking beforehand. This is episode 35.
Verify,
35.
Verify, validate. I don't know. As long as we all agree it's 35, that's what it is. We have guests, which is it's fucking amazing that we made it to 35. What's more amazing is that anyone else will hop on this shit show of a podcast with us. So
listen to the podcast and you could be on it.
That's right. If you see one of us in public, that's what it takes. That's literally what it takes. Generally, if you're doing smart stuff and the two boys that are joining us today are doing that for sure. So fellas, here's what we normally do. We normally have a stupid punk backdrop. You don't have that, so that's okay. We'll give you a pass because there's two of you and you can just blame it on that. But usually it's sort of what you've been listening to. If you have any new tattoos and what you're up to. So we'll let you go. And you might have to introduce yourselves. People are used to us.
So Michael Bathgate, I'm supervisor, been a supervisor for 8 years now, sitting in a second line role. Most of my time in a first line role the last year in second line. So fairly new to that, I would say. A big passion for leadership. I'll just get that out of the way. If you have a beer with me, I'm going to talk to you about leadership, and I'm sorry.
It's true.
Don't have a punk rock background. Will highlight the flags, aka devil horns back there, because I think
it is.
Yeah, devil horns. Yeah, that's me. I think it's Taylor.
Sweet.
My name is Taylor Hewlett. I've been in Western Canada now for 20 years. I was in the military for 5, which took me from Eastern Canada to Western Canada. When I got over here, I jumped out of the military, went right into the oil fields of oil and gas for the last 15 years, 10 plus years in a leadership role. Yeah, punk rock. A little bit of George Jones, that sort of stuff, but that's next time to go.
Wait, look, man, we sang Waylon Jennings, I'm telling you, at karaoke, and I feel like Waylon's pretty fucking punk, man.
That
dude was, yeah.
Here's an
I think he counts.
Punk rock fact for you. Had a little bit of a punk rock phase in high school, and prior to this, I remember you saying, Ben, we talked about punk rock bands, and I was like, the only punk rock song I can remember is NOFX. Please play this song on the radio.
There you go.
I don't know why, but that's the first song that came to my mind. So
love it. Well, NOFX, man, that's if you've never listened to this podcast, and I'm hoping that's the case for you. There's a lot of NOFX going on around here for good reason.
Back up vocals in all the right places.
Yeah.
Feel like Taylor didn't mention he's a certified farm kid too, so
absolutely
nice.
So that'll learn you a thing or two. Ron, what's
up,
on, dude?
Not much, same old. Just
I always do this. I'm trying to look behind you, and I haven't figured out that it doesn't work.
This is the Dropkick Murphys.
Yeah, it is.
I don't know. They've been in the news a fair bit recently, and they just released a single, Who Will Stand With Us. It's a pretty good song. Good for the moment, if you will. So, yeah, no tattoos, living the dream, Hot Pockets. It's great.
all day Hot Pockets.
All day, every day.
We try the
new tattoo will be a Hot Pocket.
Damn right it will.
Sorry, boys.
What was it?
Have you tried the Uncrustables yet?
The Uncrustable? Is that a Hot Pocket?
It's a cold pocket, Ron.
It's kind of like, a jelly sandwich with the crust cut off.
It's like a room temperature pocket.
Sounds amazing.
If we're honest,
you're selling it. You're selling it for sure.
At your local grocer.
Sounds so good.
I'm gonna go hop right over there right after this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Load up on those.
you're gonna hop right over there. I see what you did.
Hey,
Take every opportunity to eat those things.
hop on over to Ben. What's going on, bud?
I don't know, man. Still in town until the Seahole shows up. What is that? The week of the 16th, Columbus, Ohio. This will probably have been out after that. So we'll just pretend that everybody came to Seahole and it was amazing.
I was at a conference thing yesterday, and there was a guy who was saying like his new boss sent his entire safety team. Oh, they're all going to Seahole, and I told him to go tell you you're a dipshit.
Yeah.
I think that was probably in their plan, and then they just feel enabled. Powerful leadership stuff right there. They're gonna come to my talk. The tough part is that I'm doing a talk with Taylor knows Gina Whitney, with Dr.
Mhm.
Gina Whitney, and another doc from Cincinnati Children's. So I might be a dipshit, but you got to be careful because those two are pretty fucking smart. So by association, maybe something will happen. This is
Well,
that's refused, by the way. Not that
Yeah.
anybody cares what I have to say. But it's a fucking killer band, man. Just been rocking some refused lately. I don't know why. They're good. No tattoos.
yet
Still.
what's
Still.
Well, no new ones. There's the old ones. Yeah. Dave.
Dave. Nothing happening.
It's
Nothing
like
happening?
it's 7 a.m.
It is
Well,
early.
it's 7:15
early.
in Australia, so
It's
tomorrow.
it's Thursday. Not a lot. Not a lot. Probably the most Australian punk band ever, the Hard-Ons behind me. So you can check out a bit of a documentary online. But 80s, early 90s.
yeah, you got to be really careful Googling.
Just do it on a work computer. Like
Yeah, boys, do that.
on documentary.
Just in your search engine, just Australian hard-ons, just in your search engine. And, do it on your boss.
It's already in there.
Do it. Oh, look, autofill on my boss's computer. No, but yeah, not a lot.
Why did it autofill?
That was Dave's high school nickname.
Yeah, funny. But no,
Autofill.
nothing new.
It'd be a good nickname.
That would be.
All right.
Like it.
Well, look, I'm going to acknowledge first of all that we catch a lot of shit on this podcast for people believing that we hate, number one, that we hate the letter D, and we definitely hate when there's 4 of them, and that is not the truth. We do make fun of certain things, like trademarking the letter D. But one of the things that so Taylor and Michael and I were in Banff. These guys, you guys have heard of Banff, haven't you? Dave, Ron? It's nice. They invite people, that they think are going to contribute, and it's cool. Maybe you'll get there
one day.
Yeah, one day if it works out. But we sang a little karaoke. We had some adult beverages. We talked about really cool stuff going on in their organization. And these guys gave a really kick-ass presentation talking about the application of the 4Ds. And there's a lot more to it than that, but pretty transformational stuff. That's probably fair to say, isn't it?
Yeah.
Dave is the 5th D, by the way. So to clarify, 4Ds, awesome.
We haven't asked many people about Dave in the workplace yet, but we'll get to that.
I would. I would.
Tell me what's dumb and tell me about Dave.
Yeah.
That is one
no,
question.
You already did. You just didn't realize it.
Same one.
Most profound results come from Dave, which is interesting.
So here's what I am hoping is that you can help folks understand kind of what that looked like at Imperial and how, number one, kind of what led to it, right? Because something drove you to look for some answers. You got out there and I've heard part of the story, but I think for our 6 listeners, it would be cool to hear that too. So
Yeah, like I guess I don't know. Have you guys seen the 4Ds video before we talk about it? Or Ron and Dave?
Oh yeah, these guys are fucking movie stars, by the way.
I've not seen this video.
You need to see it.
We'll
Okay.
link it in the show notes, Ben. Can you do that? Like this?
Yeah.
Just see,
Uh,
click.
Link it in the show notes.
Yeah.
Like
Don't
and
forget to like and
subscribe.
Like,
subscribe.
share, subscribe, bitch.
Shit.
So I asked that question because if you haven't seen the video, it'll change a little bit of the story. Because if you have seen the video, some of the stories in there, so it just kind of
I think we can
helps us.
assume that Ron hasn't seen the video.
Yeah.
Not
Ron
seen the
has
video.
never seen one of our podcasts or listened to it.
That is, well,
We'll
just the
tell you
one.
If
We'll
it's
tell
not
you the
part
whole-
of the Star Wars, series,
Yeah.
and if it's not like a Disney video, you can safely assume Ron hasn't seen it.
I ain't seen it. Or the
Uh,
whole Australian hard-on thing we were talking about earlier.
Wow.
Yeah. We'll share the more like blue collar version of that story because
Okay.
in the video, I mean, there's a lot of technical kind of academic terminology, but in spirit of the punk rock,
You can
we'll
just say
share.
you can just say corporate bullshit.
Try
It's okay.
to be PC
And we'll
still.
blame Ron. Ron
Yeah.
said it, and so he's getting fired.
Anyway, so like how it originally started was Taylor was kind of noticing, like he had come over to the team, so me and Taylor were cross shifts. And within the first like 6 months, Taylor was like kind of noticing some, call it complaining, if you will, on the team. And he kind of came to me and he's like,
Yeah, a lot of
man,
bitching.
yeah,
Bitching.
like,
Super
man,
weird.
he's like, I gotta talk to these guys and I gotta figure out a way to like listen to them because they're bitching, you
Yeah.
know? And like they're not bitching because they want to, they're bitching because like they have legitimate complaints and nobody's listening to them, which is basically a result of bad leadership. So
Mm.
Taylor's like, how do you want to do this? Like, what do you want to do? And I was like, I don't know. He's like, okay, well, I got an idea. I'm gonna just pull them into a room. I'm gonna put the 4Ds on the board. I'm gonna see what happens. And I was
How'd you
like,
get to the 4Ds?
Yeah, yeah. What kind of sparked that in you?
And by the way, I'm just gonna because we're gonna catch shit for it. I'm just gonna say Learning Teams Inc. That's their thing, 4Ds.
Yeah. We got to the 4Ds because there was what was the learning call that they put up?
We held a seminar at
Yeah.
our corporate headquarters, so we brought Jeff and Brent in there,
Yeah.
and we had the public kind of come in as well, and they can receive the training. So they brought the books in, brought the ideas in, so we got it directly.
But at the time, we had no idea what to do with these things. We were like, sweet,
Yeah,
let's put it in the toolbox.
4D, eh?
yeah.
So
If only we had
like,
5. We had 5.
we hadn't
Yeah.
met Steve at the time, but that's the only downfall. Anyway, so like we got them there and kind of just put them in the toolbox. And then when Taylor was like, okay, the team's bitching, like, what do you want to do? And it was kind of like, let's try this.
Mhm.
So we really like the idea of like taking academic leadership concepts and putting them into practice to see like what actually happens.
I'd say that's what we specialize in.
That's especially
Let's
large.
try that.
Yeah. So like
What's the worst could happen?
Exactly. Hold my beer.
we've taken a lot of things from books and different, principles and like put them into actual practice. Everything from like the extreme ownership from Jocko Willing to some stuff from Simon Sinek, like infinite game stuff, some Adam Grant stuff, like just pretty much anybody who has a leadership concept, lots of John Maxwell stuff. We're like, let's just see what this looks like in practice. So
Let's do all of it at the same time.
Yeah.
See what happens.
put it in a blender.
Sometimes.
Yeah. And so the
Something will
4D
stick.
was like the tool that we decided to use on this occasion. So we like not really knowing how it was going to go, obviously, because of never using it. Taylor's like, I'm just going to put them up, see what happens. So he brought them all in the room. He's like, hey guys, got this idea. Like, come on in. We're going to try something. And at the time, like there wasn't a lot of buy-in from the team. There was not even a lot of trust from the leaders. Like it was pretty broken, if I'm being transparent. So Taylor writes like the 4Ds on the board, what's dumb, dangerous, difficult, or different. And he's like, okay, guys, tell me about these. Like, what's going on in your work, like right now? What's something that's dumb? And they're like,
You guys.
silence. Pure silence.
Management.
Taylor's like, yeah, 30 seconds of
Fucking
silence.
meeting.
This is great.
Pretty awkward.
They didn't talk about what to do with silence when you ask people about the 4Ds.
Flipping through the book.
Yeah, hold on, I didn't read that chapter. So he just kind of kept asking questions like, oh, I know you guys have been talking about things and like I've been hearing some complaints, like tell me about them, you know? Like tell me something that's dumb. Just throw me a bone, right? And finally somebody like put up their hand and they were like pickup trucks. And I'm pretty sure it was a joke. I don't even
I was like, wait, I'll take one.
So but like with the 4Ds, the important thing is to just like thank that person for, you know, bringing that idea forward, right? So Taylor just wrote pickup trucks on the board. He was like, great, pickup trucks sounds good. So then he's like, okay, you know, tell me more, right? What else do you have? Like, what else do you have? You have anything that's difficult in the work that you do? Like, I hear you guys complaining. Like, I know there's some difficulties you're facing. What are they? They're like, oh, planning. Okay, planning. Writes that down. And like once that floodgate kind of opened, it was just like item after item after item, and he ended up with like 20 things.
Mhm.
So with that, he was just like, okay,
That's what you don't see in the video. In the video, it's like, oh, there's pickup trucks. I was like, no. It was a list of problems. Once
How
they
many people
start talking?
How many people are in the meeting?
We had 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
10,
20 is
like,
pretty solid.
Yeah.
And what did you do the next day after you fixed all those 20 things?
well, can we pause? Can we keep telling the story? So once he has all those things, basically, like what we did was just tell the team, like, okay, like, thank you. Like, we're not going to do anything with this right now, but just give me some time. And they were like, you know what, Taylor? Like, we've had tons of leaders ask us, like, what the problem is before. We've told them they've done nothing. And he's like, I just need some time. I'm going to get back to you. Leave it with me. So then he came and talked to me. He's like, hey, I went really, really well. You need to do it tonight. These are the things that I had. I was like,
I'm
okay.
on days, Mike's on nights, so he has another.
I was like, what?
I thought you boys were sort of back to back on like time on, time off, not day and night. And I think you, hey, look what I did. Here's the stuff you got to fix in the next 2 weeks before I get back.
We're gonna pause. So anyway, at the time we were cross shifts. Yes, sorry to clarify. So I was on night shift. He was on day shift. So he was like, "You need to do it tonight." So I went to the team and I ran the same exercise. And like I don't think I got pickup trucks, but a lot of the other items on the list were identical. And that was really neat. So like the next day we talked about it. And we were like, okay, like what do we want to do with all these things now, right? And we're like, some of them we know we can't fix. Like we'd be lying to ourselves if we were like, yeah, we can fix all these things. And some of them were like really kind of quick wins, and some of them were going to take some time. So we were like, okay, you know what? Why don't we just figure out which ones we want to tackle right away, which ones we want to kind of work on, and then which ones like we probably won't get to, and we'll just give that feedback to the team. Like, hey guys, thanks for sharing this information. This is what we've done with the list. This is how we're going to progress it forward. And they were like, all right. So Taylor was like, I'm going to get you guys pickup trucks. And they all called BS. There's no way, Taylor, you've been asking for trucks for 10 years. You're out of your mind. Taylor's like, well, okay, maybe. So he went to our superintendent at the time, and he's like, hey, I want to rent 2 new flat deck trucks. We don't have any flat decks in the fleet. We got this pipe crew, which is like a large diameter pipe crew. They work on like 30-inch pipe. He's like, they just want a truck that they can put their tools on. They don't have
That's
to
what
get
Dave's mom works on too. Sorry, I couldn't let that one pass without. Sorry, it's so uncharacteristic of this podcast to have a mom joke. Okay, sorry. Flat deck trucks.
So anyway, Taylor went and asked, and he was like, look, like, I know we don't have it in the budget to get these trucks, but like, is there any way we can look at renting them or something like that? And the superintendent at the time he was like, yeah, why not? Like, what's the cost going to be? You know what? It's probably $1,000 a month, $1,500 a month. Like, let's look at renting a truck. This was like 5 years ago. I know it'd be way more now, so we might not be able to afford it, but back then, pretty affordable, right?
Yeah.
Nowadays, it's probably like $5,000 a month. So anyhow, he ended up getting these pickup trucks in like 4 weeks. And I remember when they showed up, the crew was like, how did you get trucks? Like they were blown away. Like nobody had ever done anything for this team in the past, is what it almost seemed like. It was almost embarrassing, but that was like the feel, right? And that like initial moment, I remember how powerful it was for them in like building that trust within the team and like solidifying that, hey, you know what? If you actually just like listen to what the team has to say and do your job as a leader or a supervisor, like you can start getting that credibility through like little wins. And then what that spiraled into was like a lot of those things on the list ended up being solved by them because the job as a supervisor isn't actually to like solve all those problems. It's to help the team find ways to work through them. Taylor will talk to this because there's way more on it. And I'm getting dry mouth. I need water, but I don't have any. So
here you go, dude. What's up?
thank you.
Taylor will baby bird it for you. Just
Down the pipeline.
Send that pickup truck. Yeah.
No, that's cool. Like
he teed you up there, Taylor. Sorry.
He did. I'm just kind of giving a pause there. If you guys
Yeah, it's all right. Ron has questions.
I have so many questions actually.
I think we'll just go through that. Go ahead, Ron. What do you got?
Well, so a lot of things jump out at me. So one of them is like, you went in and you just like, hey, let's just fucking do this. Like, what would you do different now that you know what you know? Like, you decided, hey, we want to give this a try. What did you learn that like, okay, next time when we do this, we're gonna do it this way as opposed to the other way? Or do you just do it the same way?
So, like, the truth is, like, that first meeting, just do it.
Yeah.
So, like, it works because everybody's going to develop, improve, or whatever, and we talk about like this pursuit of perfection all the time. Just get in there. Don't try to be perfect. And once you go in and do one, you'll start to realize there's a lot of skill that you develop through repetition. And so that's the one thing, even when we do these conversations, we don't do one, right? And we even let the crew know, I was like, this is one, we're going to do another one. And depending on your rotation and your frequency of your jobs and stuff, we work 2 weeks on, 2 weeks off. So we started off like we had a list of 20 things. And so in 6 months, that gives me 5 working rotations. So we waited for 6 months before we sat down with them again. And we worked through a lot of the items. So kind of offline outside of the meeting, but we had the crew involved with the discussions over the next 6 months. But within 6 months, we sat down with them again. We brought up the list, and the one thing that we talk a lot about is drop all of the like bureaucracy and politics. Just be straight up with people. So when we sat down with them the next meeting, I told them this is what's been accomplished. It was highlighted in green. It was highlighted in yellow, like what we're working on. So like we're still working through this issue. This is where we're at, talking to these people. This is how far we've made it. And then we had a lot of things in red. And the things in red, I was like, this is stuff that I haven't even touched. Like, I don't know how to do it. I don't know what to do about it, but it's back on the list, but it's red. I don't know. Like, and so that's the one thing that I do encourage people. Be honest. If you haven't done it, don't just tell them you haven't done it.
Yeah.
People are fine with it.
There's like the key piece of that is like if you try to get perfect at it, it's going to come off disingenuous. Like if you just go in and do it and you do it from a place of caring, people are going to see that. And the one thing we learned was like they had suggestions on how to run that meeting the more we ran them.
Yes.
So like we ran it with
changes.
Yeah. So like they actually said, hey, instead of just us doing this as a team, like Taylor's team, can we get both your team and Taylor's team together and do this? And we were like, sure, why not, right? And then they were like, hey, can we get everybody together and do this? Like at one point we held a meeting, we kept the teams overtime,
A
paid
couple
them,
times,
got in trouble for it.
which is what we're good at.
And,
Yeah,
and
perfect.
we're like, we'll just do it.
We're gonna put 40 people in a room right now and pay them double time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
It was a 4-hour conversation.
It's,
but it was,
everybody's
But,
talking
like-
real slow.
but it was so cool because
It was.
remember how when I said like a lot of the issues were the same, like when they got together in the room and they were talking about the same issues, it was so neat the solutions that they were coming up with issues for each other and how they wanted to progress through them. So like we weren't even doing anything and they were literally solving problems on the spot of like, oh hey, if you guys like I remember one of the things that they had issues was like they didn't have a great Passover. They're like, you know what? Like, you guys, we get in and like, we don't really know where you left off. And the supervisors used to go in the field and we used to pass it over and like, can we just stop on the road in the pickup truck and just meet face to face and have a conversation before you guys head back to camp at the end of the day and figure out what's going on? They're like, yeah, where do you want to meet? And they literally like created their own Passover from this meeting that we had nothing to do with, didn't have to pay any extra money, didn't like, so it was so cool, like doing that and the value that we got out of it, right?
They ended up standardizing some of the own work
Excuse me.
because whenever you're doing a job, everybody has a certain way that you're going to prep and get ready to execute the work. And there's kind of discrepancies between crews.
Yeah.
And they ended up like solving their problems together and coming up with a standardized approach as to how we're going to start and prep jobs and what they're going to be doing throughout the day. So like we did studies after to determine like what was the impact to the business and like, well, the pickup trucks alone gave us an extra 30 minutes with time on tools, which is
Oh, geez.
massive.
Yeah.
It was interesting as we started working through these issues with the crew and just giving them a time and a place where we can discuss it. We went and looked at trending. We have just under 2,000 employees on site, and we can track it all through our online. So we went through it, and we wanted to look at. We said, I wonder what our absenteeism rate has done in the last year, like that year when we started doing it. And then we compared it to other departments just to see if there's something wrong with our data, because we had a 53%, 56% reduction in absenteeism in the following year. And we checked other departments to determine if there was something that impacted it. And we didn't see it any other. There was one crew in another department that we seen a trending like that. But so then we started talking about presenteeism. People are actually showing up to work, caring about what they're doing, putting in the effort. Huge impacts.
Yeah.
And I think I'm glad you brought that up because there's a lot of folks that, and we've talked about this before, this idea of metrics, right? And and chasing all this shit we can dashboard for safety.
Yeah.
And the reality is the way that we're going to win a lot of folks over and having those discussions, especially with senior leadership, is saying, look, man, we're safer because of what we know, but I kind of want to show you this thing too. I want to show you this 53%, whatever it was. I mean, that's huge numbers.
Huge.
And I think for people in safety or organizational performance or resilience roles or whatever it is, that gets underutilized so much. People they're not looking at that downstream. I don't know if it's even downstream. It's a direct effect.
It is
of having those conversations. You don't have to hunt for that a whole lot.
It's pretty incredible, and like even like the culture where it's got to. So like I have a team right now that I used to supervise, and they come in. So we have like a split shift where a crew, there's 6 people, 3 of them come in early, 3 of them come in at like normal time. We do it just for efficiency's perspective. And so like I'll text them in a group before they get to work so they know like who's on the early shift, who's on the late shift. And so this one guy texted me on the side, he has some training that he has to complete for excavator. And he's like, look, man, the crew that we got right now is functioning so well. Can I just forfeit my excavator training because I want to stay on that early shift? I don't even care to go back to a normal time to get my hours on the hoe. I'm just so happy with the people I'm working with and like what we're able to accomplish. And I was like, okay, I'm like, I appreciate that so much, but
I need an
let's
excavator
figure
operator.
out a way to get you your training also. Like that's important.
And
But
stop taking mushrooms, man. Everybody's loving everybody a little too much here.
But I was just like, I was blown away. Like, this guy wants to show up so bad and be on this early shift to go to work. He's like so happy. And he's like reaching out to say, like, he got out of the group and just texted me on the side and asked us. And I was just like, this is incredible. Like, who does this? You know, I was blown away. And I'm like, I'm not even looking after him. I like, they have a different supervisor, but he comes in because I come in 2 days early so that like the regular supervisor comes in that day. So I'm just organizing it for him so that it's like very seamless. And I was just like, he's in the group text as well. And I was like, this is incredible. Like, but it just goes to show you the culture that like this stuff builds within a team.
Yeah. So one of the things that kind of stands out is if you read a lot of the literature, no matter where it's from, on event learning or learning teams or whatever flavor title you like, there's usually this real separation, right, between the learning and the solving, right?
Mhm.
So it's a pretty discrete event. You sit around, you do the learning, you take some time. We sort of try to process all that and put it in context. But what it sounds like is as you're able to meet with folks and you're doing the putting those questions on the board and just turning people loose, they're learning and solving and learning and solving in real time.
Oh,
So is
yeah.
that something that you separate on purpose? I mean, are there separate things for when something goes wrong and you're doing a learning process from an event?
Totally separate.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. We treat those completely different.
Cool.
The big thing we with the 4Ds and what we're looking at here is we use that as opportunities to decide, okay, what is it that we want to be focusing on? So some of the issues, and this is the stuff that we really enjoy. When we started listening to the crews and they started telling us some of the problems, Ron, you had said it in the beginning, where's the problems? And it's us.
Mhm.
All right. And that's one thing that a lot of people, it's like, nah, I'll go and get you some tools and I'll fix this issue over here for you in the field.
Yeah.
But we're not going to dig into the problems that is right here. But we do. And so depending on what that problem is, we'll decide. We kind of have like a repository of leadership concepts and tools that we teach. And so depending on what the problem is, we'll look at it and say, hey, if there's a deficiency on this crew, what's the leadership issue that's connected to that? And then so if it is no bad teams, only bad leaders.
Mhm.
Well,
Sometimes
and bass players. And it's sort of the same. Sort of the same. And honestly, ska bands, right? Bad team. So there are some exceptions, but
Yeah.
So we'll decide, you know what, it's time to pull out the extreme ownership concept and let's sit down with our entire leadership team. And we're going to teach this to our team. We're going to have discussion. We're going to have a few fights. Pretty important as a
Do
leadership.
a little Jocko Willink MMA
Yeah.
move in there.
Yeah.
Just
And then,
it's intense, man.
yeah, we use sometimes we like to use a skill will. I don't know if you've ever seen that one before. Skill will is like a 4 quadrant, right? Talks about desire to do the job well, and it talks about the skill. So motivation and skill from workers. We'll use that to go and pull apart teams to identify contributors that have high potential that we're overlooking and that we're not motivating properly as leaders. We don't spend a lot of time working on low contributors on teams. We believe that we set high expectations and focus our time on the high achievers. and set those expectations that they're mentoring the rest of the crew. So it just depends on what we're doing. Like, depends on what the problem is that comes up.
Yeah.
And it's not always that we're going to bring the rest of the crew into the room. Sometimes we're going to bring our entire leadership team in the room, and we're going to have some tough conversations with ourselves.
The skill wheel actually allowed me and Taylor to coin our own leadership phrase. We call it labels. It's the only one I think we can say we came up with. Every other one's been taken, but it was like people placed labels on individuals in the workplace, whether you want to or not. It's a human thing. Like, Ben doesn't like ska bands, but there's probably nothing wrong with
I
them.
can't help it. It's
I mean, they can play music. Ben just doesn't like their music.
Yeah.
So Ben has a label on ska bands. But
Yeah.
I like what you see in the workplace, though, is like you see when you talk about skill, will, and performance, performance often gets confused with like an emotional kind of connection with the person. So somebody might say, you know what, I don't like that person because of the way they sound on the radio, or how they ask me a question every 5 minutes and it drives me nuts. But like, that person's just asking a question because they genuinely don't know what to do usually. So the problem is not with the person, it's with the leader, right? And then when labels get placed on people, be very detrimental to the help that they receive or how they're treated, and then how they're actually placed in a performance ranking when it has nothing to do with their performance whatsoever.
Yeah. We've talked a little bit on this. Well, our 6 listeners will have heard this before, but we've talked more than a couple of times about just supervisors getting hung out in the fucking breeze in a lot of ways like that, right? We talk about bad leadership or poor leadership, and it's really just it's people who want to do a good job and have no fucking support.
Yeah, I've got a label story for you. Was it like this? It's oil and gas. So oil and gas organization, my last one, the drilling team, right? Always fun from a safety point of view, but the drilling team had the highest recordable incident rate in the company. And the senior management had decided, you're talking labels, that the reason that the drilling team had the highest recordable injury rate was because the supervisor or the superintendent of the drilling team rode a motorcycle. And clearly, if they rode a motorcycle, they didn't care about their own safety, and clearly they don't care about safety for their team, and that's why they have a high injury
100%.
rate.
Absolutely.
That's
Who could fault that logic?
It's like it's math. It's simple math, right? It's just
that's fucking.
Is that what you're meaning
But
about?
that's it, right?
Is that like what you're meaning about by labels?
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah.
It
So we look at like the labeling bias, right? So we go and we really pick that one apart a lot. The Pygmalion effect, the Rosenthal effect, we use that one a lot. And so we just take as many different leadership concepts as we can. And then when we're looking at problems, if we do recognize that it's within our leadership team that the problem lies, then we usually try to pull, okay, which leadership concept applies here? And then we sit down with the team and say, hey, let's go and review this again. Looks like we need to learn. We need to learn.
So to go way back to Ron's question about would we do anything different?
I wouldn't. I mean, he's forgotten it already.
We forget about Ron?
I 100% forgot the question. Go ahead.
Like, we say no, but like the reason we say no is because you have to go through those experiences to understand like what concepts you need to apply at the time to be effective and efficient.
Yeah.
Because like every situation is going to be different. Not every crew is going to have somebody who rides a motorcycle and likes ska bands.
And not the same person.
Ben rides a motorcycle and likes car bands.
And doesn't like.
So,
That's what it is.
Yeah, no, but to like the serious answer to that is like, yeah, you really have to kind of get into it, and then you have to want to like learn yourself, and then that's why it's important not to try to fix anything in that moment too. It's important to just listen. Like all your, they call it learning teams, and like the only way to learn is to listen. So it's just being able to listen to the crew and not try to solve those problems on the spot, which is like the opposite of what every leader's ever been taught in their entire career. Like, oh, you're here to fix problems. So, okay, there's no pickup trucks. I got you. I'll go get them. Like, no, just like let's understand it more. And then kind of reflect and decide, what direction you need to go in.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I
If
think
you want to have some fun, and if you've never used the 4Ds for a conversation, then the challenge I usually put out to leaders is go ahead and have the conversation and do not solve anything in this discussion.
Oof, that's tough for them.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sit on your hands. But I
Yeah.
think the
it's
coolest
going to
thing
work.
is
It'll work for a hand safety campaign. You just don't put your hand where you wouldn't put your D, right? Sorted.
There
Okay,
you
see,
go.
fifth D right there. I told
Don't
you
need
this,
gloves.
guys. I mean, the cool thing is, I think, you guys talked about curiosity and just shutting up and listening. And that like 30 seconds of silence where people maybe don't speak up. But I think maybe the coolest thing about that line of questioning is when you ask somebody what's dumb, like you've already implied that you did something dumb. It's, you've already admitted, like, I know that I did dumb stuff. Can you just help me figure out what it is instead of making it personal? And I
Yeah.
think that's a powerful part of that question.
I'll give you an example.
Uh-oh. Well, this podcast is a pretty good example.
Throughout the journey, throughout it was about 2 years that I was with that crew and working with Michael. One day I came in and one of the leaders said, "Hey, I'm going to pull you aside. Do you know that you're extremely sarcastic and nobody knows when you're joking?" I was like, "No way."
Can we slow down? It was me who pulled Taylor aside for the record.
I would say, I don't think all of it.
Like he pulled me aside first, and then I was
Wow.
like, "You should probably just go tell Taylor." So he didn't even want to go tell Taylor. He was like, "Is there something wrong with Taylor?" Like he came and talked to me, and I was like,
Yes.
I don't think so." And he's like, "Man, like he is really like he's over the top with his sarcasm a little bit, almost like rude, and it comes across a bit strange." And I'm like, I don't know, like have a conversation with Taylor. I'm sure he'd be open to discussing it, right? So,
And then, and that's the thing. Like when we talk about learning, I don't know what we're going to learn. I didn't know I was going to learn that my sarcasm comes across as actual truth sometimes, and people think I'm serious. Or did I?
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So
like, yeah, of course. Don't worry about the harness. Get up the fucking pole.
And so from that conversation, then like we like to have fun, right? We're going to be vulnerable. So I decided to pull 10 supervisors in the room, and I was like, I'm going to address this head on. I just sat down and I was like, hey, I'm going to kick off this meeting. Apparently, I'm sarcastic and you don't know about it. And I just want to let you all know that I appreciate it. I appreciate you letting me know this. It definitely is never my intention to speak to you in an uncomfortable way. I had
they're
said,
like, is he fucking with us right now?
Yeah.
Does he really want to speak to us that way?
and I did finish with it. I'm like, I do apologize. I didn't mean to do it, or did I? But
Slam the door and
we
bug
do
out.
things that are kind of
Perfect.
different, right? So we just took it head on. We sat down with the entire team, and I said, I'm going to work on this. I apologize, and just appreciate everybody being brave enough to bring it forward, so that like I could learn.
Yeah. Taylor,
Yeah, I
how
think
did you find your way over to solutions for patient safety a little bit ago, where Ron's head was floating around on a giant screen?
Yeah, ours is still doing that as well, to be honest. Um, because of this stuff that we were doing. So Michael and I and the work we were doing with this team, and like you said, this is 5 years ago. We started just taking it so serious when it comes to leadership development. It's like we're going to talk to everyone. I don't care what level of the organization. You can be an executive or you can be a green hat that's just coming in. If you want to talk about leadership, we're going to talk.
that's how we got here.
And that's how we pretty much. And then so people what happened is, so you talk about like hop, and we're not safety professionals. Michael and I, we have an operations background, and so as we were talking, we did like 30 presentations one year to whoever wanted to listen to it, and I don't know, a couple hundred people we sat in front of at various times. And then there was some people in our safety department that said, "Oh, this is hot." And I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And so as we
Cool
were
story,
telling,
bro.
Hop the fuck out the door.
yeah, I had no idea what they're talking about. And then they're like, "Oh, your stories, and this sounds like hop." And so then they really like the safety team kind of trained us and got us up to speed as what hop is. And it's like, "Oh yeah, that's just good leadership." And they're like, "Well," and so then we started like taking our stories and then applying to hop principles. And then eventually they asked us to go speak in Banff at a conference. And then Energy Safety Canada wanted to do a video. And then Solutions for Patient Safety reached out to Energy Safety Canada and wanted to talk to the actors in this video and wonder if they're real people.
Fucking movie
actors.
stars, I told you.
Oh my God.
And then so it was like, hey, so we started talking to Ann Lyron from Solutions for
Yep.
Patient Safety, and it's like, let's go to Chicago. And what a fantastic time we had down there as well. That was just learning so much. Yeah.
Cool.
And
what's
solved it.
interesting-
Solved patient safety almost certainly.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's a relief.
I think
Yeah, thanks guys.
one of the cool, I think, takeaways from this conversation a little bit for me is that, companies always kind of think they've got a safety problem and they come and try and come at safety and try to, dabble and fix safety. But I think all organizations, it's all about work and leadership, like you guys have said, right? Like you solve for work and leadership, and safety, gets solved along the way, right? So, I think sitting down in front of a whiteboard and starting to talk about, what are our safety issues and what do we do about safety? Like, that's not the conversation that people want to have. They want to say, get me a fucking truck, get me this, and plan the work better and communicate across teams more effectively. And so I love that you guys were like, we're not safety professionals. Good. Because if you run a good operation, then, safety takes care of itself.
Well, and Ron thinks really you don't need safety.
Well, you don't.
Safety professionals anyway. That's back in
Clearly.
episode 2. Ron fired himself. Honestly,
It's
Just waiting for everyone to find out.
like, because we didn't know, and like we weren't doing this from the perspective of trying to like fix safety. We were just doing this from the perspective of like we just genuinely care about people and developing them.
that's the best part.
That's a radical concept, though. Crazy.
Radical.
It fucking sometimes is, which is bonkers to me, but yeah.
Which is so interesting though, like what we learned working with the academics, because if we didn't have academics, we wouldn't understand what we were doing.
Mm-hmm.
So like what they taught us was when you ask those questions, like you're actually addressing safety through psychosocial risk.
Mm-hmm.
And like we didn't realize that getting somebody a pickup truck is fixing a safety issue, which is like them compiling just all that shit about I hate my job because I don't have a pickup truck and going to work with all that baggage that day, which is a huge safety thing.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Because all they're thinking about is like, if these idiots in the office would get off their ass and get me a truck, it'd be great. Like, they pay me more a month than a freaking pickup truck rental is going to be. What is going on?
And then you talk about extreme ownership, and they're going, fuck your pre-start, fuck your procedures, fuck your permit, like fuck all of this.
Yeah.
One of the things. Oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying. So it's just really interesting that like we were actually addressing those safety issues through not trying to address those safety issues. And I think that in itself says a lot to the team, because like you talk about, like you go out and try and talk about safety, and like you said, that's hard to digest and listen to sometimes, right? So if you can do it in a way where you're not talking about safety and you're talking about safety, I think it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We address safety issues and like through the hop world, just through talking about normal work.
Yep. When it strikes me that you guys Whoa, I just heard myself. But you,
It sounds bad. Welcome to our world.
yeah, fuck, oh shit. This is why I don't listen to the podcast, guys.
There's more Ron than we need.
Hey-o. But like that truck example, like I love the way that you framed it as like it's this thing that's in their fucking head and they just can't get past it, and it becomes like this stumbling block that like nothing's gonna fucking get done. It's a symbol of the gap between management and them, and if you can just do that, that's like the key to unlock all that creative potential that they have. You know what I mean? Like I just think that's so powerful. And sometimes I see the opposite in organizations where a lot of like leaders will talk about, oh, they're talking about pickup trucks again. And they use that as an excuse that I don't even want to talk to them because that's just what they're going to bring up without recognizing like, well, just fucking solve the problem and then you don't have to talk about it anymore.
One of the craziest things I remember from I heard when I was a new leader was talking to other leaders and them complaining about the fact they had to deal with people.
Mhm.
Oh my God, I have to go deal with this guy again. And in
You
my
got
head, I'm
people,
like,
you got problems.
no, but in my head, I'm like, wait a minute, like as a leader,
Uh,
your only job is to deal with people.
yeah, what exactly do
What
you
are
do?
you doing? Like, why did you take this role? Like,
Yeah.
you're not
But
running equipment anymore.
but I
Like,
think some of that though is it's that disservice we do to folks, right? Like, we
yeah,
don't shape
Yeah.
what
Yeah.
success looks like as a leader. You're
yeah.
good at a technical job. Maybe you're great at it, and the next thing to do is to get a raise and to be a foreman or a
Yeah.
supervisor.
But it's
Yeah,
like,
fuck. I mean, I guess I'll figure it out. But the thing
it
that you
creates
guys are
this
doing that's so
cycle.
different is you're identifying it and going, okay, now let's learn.
Yeah,
We're going to learn. We've got some tools. And now you've got a way to get around that because it fucking sucks if you don't know how to do your job
Yeah.
and
mhm,
nobody's helped you do it. And not everybody's going to go out and buy the books and do it on their own. But when you
Mhm.
say, dude, I got a tool, it's like a truck, but I'm going to give you some leadership tools to be successful.
Yes.
Now it doesn't suck to talk to people. And I think
no,
to me, that's a big takeaway from what you guys are sharing too. And also the ska bands are, I mean, they're still not
I'm
so
forever just gonna send you ska music now.
Yes.
No, so I'm
Please.
from the
hold on,
West Coast,
The
block.
more brass,
and
the better.
so like I'm from Vancouver Island, and there's a lot of ska on the West
I
Coast
can, yeah.
surfing, and I think really, Ben, like you could benefit from some of it,
Yeah.
Look, the
Yeah.
closest I'm gonna get is like Rancid, and I think there's that's enough for me.
Just endless
But the
mighty mighty boss stones on the playlist.
Get
Yes.
out of here.
surfing in Tofino, it's
It
a
look any
Tofino.
band that requires a trailer to hold half of them, I think is probably something's up,
It's
man.
not your speed.
It's not
The
my deal.
Mexican band.
Yeah.
A mariachi band just cruising in. Still
One of,
only five, Dave. Come on.
yeah. One of the other things too that is a takeaway for me, we haven't talked about it explicitly, but it's been running through my head when you said something about like I don't remember what it was. You just said something about you guys did something and you got in trouble for it. Uh,
Yeah,
and I would venture to guess like some people would look at that as a cautionary tale, but what jumped in my head is like how just listening to your story, how much of the stuff you talked about, it sounded like you didn't have permission for most of it. Um,
So
and if you don't get in trouble occasionally, I think you're probably not doing your job as a leader.
yeah,
Like
absolutely.
I think
We
yes,
talked
there's
to
obviously too much, but like if you're never getting in trouble, you're probably not pushing hard enough.
yeah.
So we teach that to our
Yeah.
new leaders. And so we teach it about having like these courageous conversation with your managers. And so we did that. We sat with our managers and said, look, because a lot of people started asking questions within that year, I guess, moving forward, because we were doing a lot of stuff and we were changing a lot of things. And so we had a conversation with our managers and we said, you realize we're doing a lot of things. It's having an impact on the work. And we're not asking for permission for everything we're doing. And so but what we did, we never did that like to be like brazen, I guess.
Yeah.
we did it to tell them that it's like, we understand that you're paying us and we have a responsibility as leaders to be working. And so we tell them all the time, if you see something that we're doing don't like, just reach out, pull on the collar, tell us you don't like it. That's fine. That's okay, right? Like you said, okay, I'm in trouble. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Okay, fair enough. We'll check and adjust, right?
Yeah.
But that we're not going to let that hold us back from trying to make real change for the people that work directly report to us, that are doing real work every day. It's like, get out there and get after it. Sometimes they don't like it, but most people, even when they don't like it, like the managers in our departments that didn't like it, they're like, don't like it, stop it. Okay, we'll go around and do something different.
Yeah.
It's okay.
Ron's like,
so there's the quote. There's the quote for the show. Get out there and get after it.
I
I'm
like
sort
it.
of fucking punk rock anyway.
It's so
I don't know how to play the instrument, but we're gonna go do it real loud and fast.
Ron's like, where do I get one of those collars that my manager can tug on a little bit?
Ron's got a shock collar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Ben wants this big studded scar band sort of collar.
Yeah.
Big metal
Pinstripe,
spikes.
a pinstripe suit. It's gonna be great.
The
I feel
fun-
like we've solved a lot.
Well, like the funny thing about that story though is like we were making those mistakes, right, Ron? And like we didn't actually know we were making them until it was that time where we held all those people in the room. And then that's when the managers came and talked to us and was like, you probably should ask before you do this. And then me and Taylor were like, ooh, we should get ahead of this one. We've already failed. But that's where we came up with like, okay, we'll just go and tell them, we're gonna keep doing this and just haul us back, right? So that's that, like, do it, learn as you go, figure out what you need to do to make it work for you, right?
Yeah.
Killer.
Get out.
Boys, thanks for coming on, man.
Yeah. This was awesome.
Been super cool.
That's a great chat.
Thanks for
Go
having
see
us.
them. Go see these guys next. Just running your local hospital. It's
Yes.
they're everywhere.
Solving
And-
patient safety, solving
and-
food safety next. Who knows? Like, I don't
All of
know.
it.
You
Go
know?
watch the movie. We'll put a link. I'm gonna try like hell to put a link in the show
Somewhere.
notes.
A
I don't
link's
know.
going to go somewhere. You have the
Yeah.
AI. How's it work? AI, put the link somewhere.
Why is
The
it a
link
Google
to
search
the
for a
Australian
punk rock
hard-ons
band
in the-
Australia? Yeah.
I should clarify which link we're talking about.
Yeah. Go not the Australian hard-on movie, but definitely these guys movie.
That involves a D.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's a
That is.
different D.
And if you pay more, there's 4. The 4
It's
Ds.
not the hard-on 4Ds.
Yeah.
And clarifying once again,
Yeah.
because some people think we hate
This-
all the Ds. We don't hate them.
Ben loves the D.
We even
loves the Ds.
Yeah.
We've
Big
got
D
the
fan.
5th D right here. Big fan of the D.
All right.
I think that's how we wrap this
Thanks,
one.
boys.
Later.
Thank you.
Hey.